my story, just a little background information. So one of my very first memories I've ever had in my entire life was when I was 4. And I saw my mother sitting on a windowsill. Like, we had like a little bench windowsill, and she's staring out, and it was the summertime, and it was just after dinner. And it's like when the sun gets, like, you know, burnt, is the best description. It's like, you know, early bird on Instagram. You know, like, everything looks really warm and nice. And I remember that because I've never seen my mother look so beautiful, and she was crying. Now, I had no idea why she was crying, and also, my mom and I have this thing of when we cry, we look amazing. I know you guys are like, okay, this girl kind of looks like Neve Campbell, so pretty sure she's an ugly crier. We've all seen Scream. But we are, because when we start crying, for some reason, our eye color gets amplified and just super bright, and our cheeks go very red, and our lips get very swollen and big, because I guess we cry like ladies and, you know, press our lips so a weird doesn't come out. So we're very beautiful criers. But I remember seeing her crying, and I didn't understand why she was crying. And if she had explained to me that, you know, she just caught my dad cheating on her in an affair, then I probably would have gone, don't know what that means, I'm 4. But when that happened, and my mom recalls it as well, she always tells me, you caught me crying, you went and got me a cookie, you brought it over to me and said, you're beautiful, now stop it. And I walked away. And from that day, and from that history in my family, I knew that affairs were bad. I was always taught, and I do not believe this now, but I was always taught that if you're in an affair, you're a whore. You're horrible. You're a monster. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve anything. All you do is hurt people, which now as an adult I understand there's many different situations that I would not dare judge. However, I was also led to believe that if you got in an affair or had an affair, you would turn into a stepmom, and holy shit, that terrified me. Because then I'm like, oh no, now I'm going to start listening to Elton John and collecting Royal Dalton and get a fuzzy lip, because that was my stepmom, and I'm going to start hating children, and I didn't want that, so I knew affairs were bad. I was terrified of affairs. Just stay away from them. So a year ago, I'm with a friend. Now, he's the type of friend that I couldn't tell you his middle name. Like, we're friends. Like, we work together. He's helped me out. I've helped him out. And we're friendly. And he's an amazing person. He's very smart. He's fun to be around. He's very funny. He's incredibly respectful to women. And he's incredibly married. He's also very attractive, but I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, him and I are talking one day, and I'm like, so what's your special talent? And he said something I wasn't paying attention to. And then I go, well, mine is I'm a little psychic. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm a little psychic. For instance, pick a number between 1 and 10 and concentrate on that number. And so he does. And I go, 8. And he's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, psychic. And I'm like, now pick a number between 1 and 20. Picks a number and I go, 14. And he's like, yeah, how did you do that? And I'm like, well, and we keep going on. At one point, I even go, pick a number between 1 and 30. And he picks one and I'm like, you were thinking 9, but you're going with 11. And his eyes just look ridiculously big. He's just blown, off his ass. And he goes to me, have you ever played roulette? And I'm like, oh, you mean pick a number? And he's like, yeah, have you ever played it? And I'm like, well, once when I was in Omaha, don't ask me why I was there. I don't even know. But I was in Omaha, and I wasn't very good at roulette. I kept picking the number 1 ahead. Like, for instance, I would say 29, and 8 would come up. And the next time I'd go, 10, and then 29 would come up. And And the next one I'd go 3, and then 10 would come up. So I was like, this doesn't really work. He's like, no, but I think with this kind of thing that you've been doing, it'll work. And we start talking about it, and we get more and more excited. We start talking about, winning millions and being amazing at roulette, which, starts to get us, really excited about it. And he's like, I wish we could go. And I was like, well, yeah, you are married, and I know that there's different rules for when you're married. Like, you can't just get up and go to a casino with a younger, attractive lady that your wife doesn't know. Like, we can't do that. That seems wrong. He's like, yeah, it does seem wrong, even though we wouldn't be doing anything wrong. And I'm like, yeah, we wouldn't be doing anything wrong. And he's like, would it be wrong if I don't tell her? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't care. And so I'm like, well, no. Because there was no flirting with him. Like, he was such a good friend and guy. Like, there was no flirting. There was no weirdness. There wasn't even a gaze. Like, it was just a friend. And so I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we make a plan to go the following weekend on Saturday. And we went as far as to, like, put our names in each other's phones under the opposite sex. Because we were like, I don't want people, if your name pops up, being like, why are you hanging out with him? He's a married man. You're a single girl. What's going on? I'd be like, nothing. Like, you can't do that. And if I text him and his wife finds out, she's like, who the hell is this? So we put names in. I think I was Ryan and he was Cindy. He had a thing for Cindy Crawford or something like that. And Ryan was my brother's name, so I don't know what that tells you about me. But so when it comes to the Saturday, he texts me, he's like, meet me around the corner. And I was like, okay. So I creep over, and as I'm getting into his car, I even see like his children's kid seats, and I'm like, no, this is fine. You're not doing anything weird. You're not breaking his marriage. He might be by lying, but we're not really doing anything, because we can't be honest and come out and be like, hey, we're friends, strictly friends. We just want to go and win a ton of money for sure. Like, foolproof plan. I can pick numbers out of people's heads. Like, so we're getting there. And even at one point, his wife calls while we're in the car. And my first reaction was to go like, just cover my mouth. And it feels weird. It does, but I keep saying, we're not doing anything wrong. We're just friends who want to win some sweet cash. So we get to Niagara Falls. Where literally dreams go to die, so. But we get to Niagara Falls, and somehow I change $100 into $2,500. And I'm like, I know how I did it. I picked a number. And but what happened was, he turns around, because I can't front anything because I'm actually like a comic, so I don't have money. I'm like, I can pay you in drink tickets. But anyways, so he turns around and he hands me $1,000. And I'm like, what's this for? And he's like, I wouldn't have this money without you. And I'm like, I felt weird at first, but I'm like, all right. And I take the money, and I'm like, oh my God, I can afford rent. I can even get new headshots. I can do so much things now. So this goes on for a couple months. And it's fine, because there wasn't even a hug exchanged. It was a business deal between two friends. But it started to get really weird and feel really weird, because I wanted to tell people, because my friends were like, how'd you get in all this money? I'm like, oh, I've got a backer. And they'd be like, a what? And I'd be like, nobody would believe that situation, that two friends are just going to a casino to make mad cash. And that was it. And he happened to be married and attractive and really great all around. So then finally, this one weekend day where we're going to go, and for some reason, And I know this is silly, but for some reason I just pictured his wife, who I had no idea what she looked like. I just had an idea of this woman sitting on a windowsill, just crying. And I was like, yeah, but she's getting money for this. Like, she's probably gained a sweater or a bracelet of some sort. And so I said, all right. If this is actually wrong, give me, like, a sign. And I laughed and then ran downstairs and got in the car and, was very quiet about it. But when we went there, it was very weird, and I felt distracted, and I felt, like, odd about the whole situation, and I was starting to feel very guilty, and I still don't know why. But I ended up losing us money. I thought $600 on red was a great idea. No, I lost us a lot of money, and then it was like, out of nowhere, we just kind of looked at each other and went, this has to stop. Like, this is weird now. And so we went home and dropped me off, and I've never spoken about it to anyone except for today. And I really don't know how to feel about it, because I don't know if what we were doing was wrong or right. Everybody's situation is different. I don't know if this was an affair. I know there was lying involved, but everybody lies every single day, big or small. But what I do know is that I love free rent. Thank you very much.